here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season. And if they want to make the deep run to the playoffs, they're going to need players. And Ben Hutton's a good defenseman that can help.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
I was very tempted to just put defense.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline? And then Mason Crosby's 55-yard field goal or something like that. That was a good one.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I just do not see Harden putting in the same amount of effort into each game. And I honestly believe that's why he hasn't won a championship yet.
That's a perfect name. What you said, name brand players. Like, it's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I swear we didn't script that.
Fultz is injured, and he really hasn't lived up to the potential of being the number one overall pick when he was selected by the Sixers.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young. You see the Chiefs beefing up their O-line, and then you have the Buccaneers beefing up their defensive line.
Ingrained in the life of Tom Brady and what winning actually looks like, I think will be a very good move for Bruce Arians and this Bucs organization.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 53rd episode. Make sure to check out our 52nd episode, which was the NBA Power Rankings. Also, make sure to check out our new interview, as you heard our new liner by Jeff Allen, who, and this is an unsponsored ad, we talked about it at the end of our last episode, Cookie Society, who we believe makes the best cookies. But today I get sidetracked, as always, about talking cookies. But today we will be doing a spotty review of the rounds 2 through 7. So the best way we thought to do a spotty review is to highlight the best player that each team drafted in all of the rounds. So it's just one out of all the rounds of rounds 2 through 7 in the NFL draft. And it's in alphabetical order. So we are starting with the Arizona Cardinals. And I will let you announce the player, Austin.
Yeah, so with the first player here by the Arizona Cardinals, we have Marco Wilson, a cornerback. We thought that they needed help at cornerback. They had lost Peterson, and it was important for them to address that. And if they're going to go against people in their division like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and other people in their division, it's important for them to be able to guard them well, and especially if they want to make the playoffs this year, they're going to need to do that.
Yeah, and defense is a thing. Their offense is great, but there are some great offenses in just that division, and then you can expand it out to the NFC. But defense is a big thing that they need to step up in, and that can maybe slip them in. So a great pick there for a corner. Now to the Atlanta Falcons, where we have them selecting Darren Hall, another corner. This was the only defensive player in the secondary that we saw the Falcons selecting in this draft. And so it was good to get a corner, as you are facing some tough wide receivers there. Michael Thomas. We'll get to Terrence Marshall later, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, just the entire... Oh, Scotty Miller. Austin loves that guy.
Chris Godwin.
Well, yeah. But I just wanted to mention Scotty Miller, because he was really good, especially in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, it's definitely a great pick. I mean, the Falcons have struggled on defense ever since they made their Super Bowl run, and they weren't all that great defensively in that Super Bowl, as they allowed 34 points against the Patriots team that eventually did win that game in overtime. But it's important for them to realize that they need to rebuild their defensive side of the ball for them to have any chance, and especially in a division with stacked offenses, where there's going to be teams putting up a lot of points in that division, and I can definitely see some high scoring games, especially if the defenses can't keep up.
Yeah, now we move on to Buffalo Bills, and it took us only about 3 minutes to mention the offensive line in a draft, talking about the NFL, and that, of course, is Spencer Brown going to the Bills. They did lose their swing tackle to the Cowboys, but offensive line was also a problem for them earlier. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, it's definitely a phenomenal pick, especially as we mentioned before how they got torched by the defensive line of the Chiefs and how that really set Josh Allen back in the second half of that game. So it's important for them to do what they did and make sure they get him some help. Uh, as the only way they're going to have a chance against a team with a great D line is if they have a great O line, and it's always I think you can realize now that is a theme of our videos, especially if it's football related, that an O line, a great O line, can get you anywhere, and we definitely like this pick for that reason.
Yeah, and now we go to the Baltimore Ravens, where they select the Ohio State cornerback Sean Wade in the later rounds. I really like this pick because I think Sean Wade is a really good corner, even though he struggles as before this draft. If he had come out in the draft in 2020 NFL draft, he would have had a much higher stock. People had him going in the first round. So if he turns out really well, this adds to an already great secondary for the Ravens. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, and I think it's even better that they have a good secondary already, so that he can be instilled into a third or fourth or fifth cornerback role and still get playing time, but not as significant playing time. He won't have to guard the great wide receivers in the division like Jarvis Landry, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jamar Chase. I mean, uh, so we're gonna have to see how this turns out. But I definitely think Sean Wade's gonna be a quality cornerback, and I definitely like this pick, and that's why we have it here.
And now the next team is the Carolina Panthers. I just said his name earlier. Terrence Marshall Jr., the wide receiver from LSU. I say LSU because Austin mentioned Jamar Chase. There's also Justin Jefferson, but the LSU offensive coordinator from when Joe Burrow and the offense was just magnificent, that set records before Alabama's offense the next year broke the records, I believe, is that offensive coordinator has been the offensive coordinator this past year and the offensive coordinator once again for the Carolina Panthers. And they lost Curtis Samuel, but I think reuniting Terrence Marshall with Joe Brady is a good pick, and it also gives another weapon to Sam Darnold, who is grateful that he has some weapons. What are your thoughts on Terrence Marshall?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be important for Sam Darnold to get more weapons than he had with the Jets, and I think the Carolina Panthers realized that as this was the first offensive player that was drafted by Matt Rule. So it's going to be important for, like I said, Sam Darnold to be accustomed with new wide receivers, and he's never really had this many great players on his offensive side of the ball. And they've already last season they already took care of their defense, and they've continued to do it this year, taking in the first round of the draft. But I definitely see an improvement as there are going to be some great defenses they go against, like the Buccaneers. I mean, there's great defenses in the division. The Saints have a really good defense as well. So they're going to need as many weapons as possible for them to get as many yards as possible in a division that is so competitive.
Yeah, it's very true. And the Cincinnati Bengals, we move on to them. And Jackson Carman, the offensive tackle from Clemson, they selected. That's, of course, the best pick because best pick 2 through 7. They passed up on Panay Sewell, but you got an offensive lineman, not Panay Sewell, but best pick there because we, of course, have mentioned how Joe Burrow has no time to throw the ball, and they get an offensive tackle that hopefully can help him. What are your thoughts on Carmen?
Yeah, it's definitely a good move. However, he's always been known to be an injury-prone player in his college days, and he's going to have to not be that for Joe Burrow to stay alive. Uh, and Panay's never had that issue. That's why we question the move so much, and uh, we've been consistently worried about the health of Joe Burrow, but I won't be surprised if somehow, some way, this comes back to bite him. This move to take Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and we will definitely be in the front row to mock the Bengals if Panay Sewell turns out to be really great for the Lions and Joe Burrow is still running for his life. But now we go to the Cleveland Browns, who really had an excellent draft throughout, but this is a pick. Austin and I had this guy going to the Raiders in our mock draft in the first round as Jeremiah Owusu Kormoa, the linebacker from Notre Dame. He is a great linebacker and that is a huge need. They also feel he is a first round talent, as Austin and I had both him going. It had him both going in our mock drafts, and they also got a corner, and linebacker was a huge need for them, really stepping up the defense, which is a good thing. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, like you said, we both had him going in the first round, which I am still stunned that somehow, some way, he wasn't taken by anybody in the first round. Um, but yeah, for him to fall this far in the draft, it just shows that. I mean, maybe there was something we didn't see. We are outsiders. That's why we're called outsiders' opinions. We don't see everything that all the scouts and personnel see in the coaching staff. But I definitely anticipate him to be a great player, and this could expedite the greatness of the Browns and their chances in this strong AFC conference.
Yeah, really good additions, and great for the Browns as some offenses are trying to gear up. But now we move to the Chicago Bears, and they select Tevin Jenkins, who I had going in the first round, and offensive tackle. Starting off the draft right after you get your quarterback, you get Tevin Jenkins. I like this pick by the Bears. You need offensive linemen, and even though often I've proclaimed that Justin Fields should not be rushed, so that either leaves Nick Foles or Andy Dalton, most likely Andy Dalton, as he was promised the starting quarterback job. And they need offensive linemen. They excel with offensive linemen, so it's good to get offensive tackle. What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it shows that maybe Matt Nagy isn't the dumbest person ever. I mean, he's had some questionable decisions during his tenure as a coach, and I think this really proves that he's learning from his mistakes and he's really realizing, hey, uh, Justin Fields is a all time talent, and we definitely need to take into consideration his health. Um, and I think what they've done in this draft is it. I mean, it's been one of the best things in a couple of drafts. It's been a while since they've had such a successful draft, and I definitely love the pick of Jenkins, and I think he should definitely assist in the health of Justin Fields and their running game. And uh, maybe Matt Nagy stays around for a lot longer than we thought after Mitch Trubisky's downfall and his move to the Bills.
Yeah, that's very true, but jury's still out on Matt Nagy. Now we go to the Dallas Cowboys, and they get Israel Mukwamu. So a good corner. He is 6'4", so Dan Quinn loves his tall corners, and corner is a thing that the Cowboys really need after losing Chidobe Awuzie to the Bengals, and they really need to pair a guy. You're not sure. I feel they reached with Kelvin Joseph in the second round, but this is why I think it's a good pick. Israel Mukwamu is a really good player. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, so I mean, big corners can really do a lot if they're great. Richard Sherman, we've seen that from him. And I definitely think in the system where Dan Quinn is, he's coached some great corners in his time. He obviously won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He knows how to grow corners. Um, so I love this pick. I think while you didn't get Surtain in the first round, this is definitely not too much of a downgrade considering his size and the coach that you have behind the bench.
Yeah, very true. They also missed on J.C. Horn as they were both gone when the Cowboys selected, so kind of had them rush on cornerbacks. But now we go to Denver Broncos. We're back at the offensive line once again. Quinn Miernes, the offensive guard, really good pickup as I think they're going to say Teddy Bridgewater is their starting quarterback, but they still need to address that line and hopefully improve the run game. And you always have to get in between the tackles. That's a great pick. And he does have some great fashion, so he can help any Broncos player that needs help with fashion. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, and I mean, whoever will be the quarterback next season is going to need some help, and their O line has been needing some extra players of significant value and for years. And like you said, he definitely has a look that kills. So it's going to be cool to see him be playing, and we definitely love this pick for the Broncos.
Now we go to the Detroit Lions, who I also think had a pretty solid draft, but they select Amon-Ra St. Brown, the wide receiver from, of course, USC. Had to fit in an alumni from USC, but they did lose Kenny Galladay and not Tate. Where did he go?
Marvin Jones,
Yeah, Marvin Jones.
he
Yeah, I
went to
knew.
the
I was.
Jaguars.
Yeah, to the Jaguars. Thanks. I knew they lost their two primary pass catchers, and you need to help surround the new quarterback, Jared Goff. So getting Amon-Ra St. Brown is a good pick. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mirror all the feelings that you just said. They definitely needed a wide receiver, especially after losing two of their best or most versatile passing threats. So picking up Amon St. Brown is definitely a great move. And yeah, it should help assist in Jared Goff's development as he's still a very young player who needs some help. Uh, and I think this pickup definitely does that.
So we go to another pickup from the Green Bay Packers. It was tough not putting Amari Rodgers, as there will be a Rodgers playing for Green Bay, even though he may not be the quarterback. But it's still unknown there. Austin is giving me the dead stare, so I guess don't mention Aaron Rodgers to him right now. But we'll talk about Josh Myers, the center. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I love this move. After we lost our center to the Chargers, I mean, it's important for us to realize that center was the best move to go. O line has always been something that's important, and we've always had a great O line. By we, I say the Packers. The Packers have always had a great O line during Aaron Rodgers' career. We keep him as healthy as possible, and while he has definitely had some injuries, those are normally fluke plays or plays where he's running outside the pocket where he's just trying to keep things alive because he is an athletic quarterback. Um, so yeah, I love this pick, and I definitely think it's the best way for the Packers to move forward. Is we anticipate, or the Packers anticipate, Aaron Rodgers playing next season, and we need to prepare for it like that.
Yeah, and you can always help with the O line, as depth was a thing that was showcased in the Chiefs just getting absolutely, as Mahomes was just running for his life because they didn't have enough depth. So it's a good pickup for the Packers, as this it gives them a starter but also keeps the depth. Now we go to Houston Texans, and they select linebacker Garrett Wallow. Good just to get some good prospects for the Texans and good to build up the defense. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, so I love this pick because they've really had linebacker issues since Cushing left. So I thought it was important for them to find a linebacker that they liked, and they liked this guy. And I honestly think that they could definitely improve. Uh, Maybe not as much as you would like, but Wallow's definitely a quality linebacker, and I definitely think that he can help assist the rebuilding nature of the Houston Texans, no matter who the quarterback is next season.
And I'm just gonna mix in a little bit of trivia. Do you want to say what year Brownie Cushing left or last played with the Texans?
2016,
No,
2015,
2017. No,
17.
17. Yeah.
Ah, 1 year off. Close enough.
Yep. He only played 5 games though in 17. So,
Hmm.
well, in 16 he played 13. But just had to mix in a little bit of trivia, keep you on your
Yeah.
toes.
Oh, yeah. Always got to keep me on my toes.
But now we can move on to the Indianapolis Colts, who select another DE from defensive end from Vanderbilt, and that is Deo Adeyungo. And it's good just to build up that defensive line because you have Buckner, you also have Quiddy Pay, who's they select in the first round. But just good to add, as I think they're definitely pushing to contend this year, even though you're not really sure about quarterback because Carson Wentz is still a question mark. But they're hoping he regains his 2017 form. But good to get some pressure because they saw how much pressure did to Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. And I honestly feel like it's important to have depth on the defensive line too. Defensive line injuries can be just as hurtful as offensive line injuries, and as most football fans know, uh, the O line and D line is like that's where the games are won and lost normally. Um, and they definitely went here and took another defensive end, and I definitely like this pick because it just adds to the depth of a team that, like you said, is trying to contend. If injuries beriddle their season, at least they have another defensive end to help put pressure on quality QBs like Mahomes.
Yes, and to your point, offensive and defensive lines, I think as one of the great broadcasters, not on ESPN, of course, but CBS or Fox, they mentioned that football is won in the trenches. So great teams build from there. And speaking of team building from there, is our next team, Kansas City Chiefs, Creed Humphrey, the center. They already have the center, I believe, Austin Blythe from the Chargers. But now you get Creed Humphrey. I mentioned depth was a problem, and they're really filling up that depth. Creed Humphrey can maybe move out, or just if Blythe gets injured, he can step in. I really like this pick for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Patrick Mahomes isn't like Joe Burrow. He doesn't have to play with his friends that are wide receivers. He realizes that his health is more important than his buddies. And if you looked at him on Twitter, he was all smiles whenever they made these picks and picked up certain guys in the offseason that were O linemen. So, yeah, he loves this pick just as much as we do.
And that's a good thing for Kansas City Chiefs fans, such as Jeff Allen, who understands the role of offensive lineman, as he was one. But moving on, we have the LA Chargers. We have Asante Samuel, the cornerback. He is small, but he's quick. And the Chargers had a lot of injuries. Derwin James was out in their secondary, but you get Asante Samuel, and if he's fast, he's not going to be as fast as Tyreek Hill though. But if he can keep up with fast wide receivers, I also think Penn State wide receiver from the Broncos. I'm trying to remember his name. He's fast too, correct?
Cortland Sutton. Oh, well, he went to SMU, I
No,
think.
not Cortland Sutton.
The
It's
guy
like
from
it's Penn
it.
State.
What he did was he drafted this year or when?
No, he was drafted last year, same year as Henry Ruggs. No, not
Oh, was it
Ruggs.
Hamler?
Yeah, KJ Hamler. That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of. Thanks.
yeah, no
And
problem.
Ruggs is on the Raiders. He is also fast.
Yeah, he went to
So
Alabama though. Yeah,
yeah. And then I know the other Alabama's wide receiver ones are the Broncos.
yeah, Jerry Judy.
Yeah, Jerry Judy. But Ruggs, Hamler, and Tyreek Hill are the guys that come quickly to mind. So Asante Samuel, if he can help with be a good corner and help defend those guys, and they are also light on corners. So I like this pick. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, the last point you made was really the most important. They were very light on corners, and we know how much the secondary can affect a team. If we look at the Eagles the past couple of years, they've really been down on talent at the secondary, and it's really harmed their ability to make the playoffs or do anything like that. And like you said, it's really important to realize that the fast talent that's in their division. And they got rid of Casey Hayward. They didn't like that he was his contracts and the value that he brought, and he really could not guard fast guys as well as some others. So they pick up Asante Samuel to help aid them in that facet of the game.
And I think Asante Samuel also earned a slight comparison to this guy, the because he is the son of Asante Samuel, um, the father, who played corner for the Patriots.
Yes.
I'm forgetting it's the safety's name from the Bucks who did the peace sign to Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, Antoine Winfield was also the son. He was also selected in the second round, and he was a big impact player for the Bucks.
Yeah, definitely.
Different position though, but
Still
that's kind of
secondary, close enough. Yeah.
so that's another thing to add about Asante Samuel. But we can move on to the LA Rams, and we have Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle, because we've mentioned Brockers left, and that was kind of another reason why defense might not be as good as it was while losing also their defensive coordinator. But getting Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle from A&M, is a good pickup to pair with Aaron Donald, and maybe he can learn because he struggles with interior pass rush. Maybe he can learn from the best guy, Aaron Donald. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and the loss to Michael Brockers is really why they had to make this move. But Bobby Brown, he plays for Texas A&M, like you said. He goes against great O linemen every game almost in the SEC. If you look at Alabama, he's how many people are O linemen for them. And if you can get significant success against those guys, you definitely can play well in the NFL. And I definitely love this move as it's going to help expedite the amount of time that it's going to take the Rams to make up for their losses on defense, like Michael Brockers, who they traded. Uh, so yeah, I love this move.
Now we go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Staying on the defensive side, they get Andre Cisco, the safety from Syracuse. Defense used to be really incredible for the Jaguars, but Jaguars fans are sad about how the defense is no longer what it was. But getting a good safety is a good start, as that secures the back end. And Urban Meyer loves to have some good defensive players. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I love Cisco on his side of the ball. I think he's going to be a great addition to the secondary, and safety's been a need for them for ever since 2017 when they made the conference championship of the AFC. So I love the move, and I think Cisco is going to fit in well into their defensive scheme as they're really trying to rebuild everything, and it's going to be more of a college feel because everybody's really new to the NFL game in the Jaguars organization, and everybody's coming into it with a fresh frame of mind. And I definitely think he bodes well in that sort of system.
Yeah, and now staying with another safety, we go to the Miami Dolphins, who select Javon Holland, safety. They had such a great defense, and they continue to build on by selecting a safety in the second round. So I like this pick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this pick too. The Miami Dolphins have really had a true success story of rebuilding, and I think this only helps it even more. They needed another safety to pair with Xavier Howard, so it's definitely going to help assist in their abilities to guard great wide receivers in their division. So I love this pick, and we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, they also, I believe, cut Rashad Jones, the former safety.
Yes, they did. He was a captain last year. They did cut Jones because I don't think they liked uh, his uh, his contract all that much.
Yeah, that's another thing. But Javon Holland is a guy that can step in to help. But we move on to Minnesota Vikings, who we mentioned Texas A&M, and the Minnesota Vikings select Kellen Mond, the quarterback. Interesting pick here for the Vikings, as you do have Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins isn't as mobile. I think Kellen Mond offers a more mobile side, but I think definitely taking some time to work on some throws would be beneficial for Kellen Mond and the Vikings. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I really like this move because I feel like he can, yeah, bring more diversity to the offense, give more of play action feel, and making sure that you realize that the quarterback actually can run more often than not. Uh, but honestly, I think that he can really assist in, or I think that uh, Kirk Cousins will be a great mentor for him. And he's going to get to grow with people like Justin Jefferson and the rest of the young guys in this offense. So I feel like in a couple of years, he may be taking over this offense. And I think Kirk Cousins may know this. And I thought he was a second rounder, late first round talent. He taking in the third round. Yeah, I definitely love this move.
Yeah, good to just get a sneak in the third round. And I believe another third round quarterback that was really good was Russell Wilson. So
Yeah, 100%.
mobile quarterback. A little bit too high of a comparison for Mond right now, but you never know. But now we go to New England Patriots, and this is a guy I had him selected in the first round, and that is Christian Barmore, defensive tackle. Bill Belichick's getting down to the basics, to what made the Patriots great. Excluding Tom Brady's greatness, they also had a great defense when they first started that dynasty in the early 2000s. They just had such a great defense, and Barmore was um, can cause such destruction on the defensive line. You get him in the second round. It's a great value pick. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, 100% great value pick. And honestly, we realized last season because of all the opt-outs and all the injuries that they had and the COVID considerations, how vulnerable their defense was to injuries. They weren't really very deep defense, and they relied on people not getting injured. And I think this pick just shores up their defensive line and it helps them make sure that they can get to the quarterbacks in their division, like who Zach Wilson and Tua and Josh Allen, who that's probably another reason why they picked up the Jenkins, the lineman for the Bills. That's probably why they picked him up. But it's going to be important for them to get to quarterbacks, and that's always been an identity for the Patriots. If you look back at their comeback against the Falcons, I mean, it all really, hey, we know this could happen now when Hightower got to Matt Ryan and forced to fumble. So those have always been part of the identity of the Patriots, and that continues here with the pick of Barmore.
Yeah, and now we move on to the Saints, who selected a linebacker, Pete Warner. This is a big thing for him because they traded for Quan Alexander, but they had to cut him because of cap issues. What are your thoughts on Pete Warner?
Yeah, so Warner I think is a great move because the Saints were getting older on the defense side of the ball, and Demario Davis was only getting older, like I said. And I think it was important to get a young guy so Demario Davis could help mentor him into being a great linebacker for the Saints organization. And I think that's what this pick does is it helps them prepare for the future and prepare for when Demario Davis and the rest of his linebacking core is gone. And yeah, and we saw how much linebackers can really affect a game by the play of White for the Devin White for the Bucks and the Super Bowl, and so I definitely think this is a good move, especially if he can learn behind a great linebacker in Demario Davis.
Yeah, very true. And now we head to the New York Giants, and they saw their division opponent, the Washington Football Team, have a great job with their defensive line. So the Giants invest in Aziz Ojulari. He can really add in the pressure because that's what made their defense so good in 2016. They had Vernon, you had Pierre Paul. I think you also had Tomlinson, the defensive tackle. Um,
They also did they have Pernell McPhee? I'm gonna check. You can keep on
I'm
talking.
not sure about Pernell McPhee, but that was what made their defense so great, and they spent like 200 billion when Bob McAdoo was the coach of the Giants, I believe.
Oh, he
So they're
never went
trying.
there. I sorry, I confused myself.
No, it's
What were
all
you
good.
saying?
Bob McAdoo when he was still the coach of the
Oh yeah,
Giants.
yeah.
So they're just getting back to getting a good defensive end in Aziz Ojulari, so that's why we have him as the best pick. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, it's important for the this team to realize the importance of defense again because they've been drafting a lot of offensive guys recently, like Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round, Kadarius Toney. So they needed to address the defensive side of the ball more, as I think that's going to be an importance for them during the regular season as the Cowboys offense is improving and so is the Eagles offense, well team's offense. So I definitely think this is going to be an important move for the Giants moving forward to address their defense more regularly as they get more of their to be starters for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and just to mention 2018 when they selected Saquon Barkley, a guy that was really good defensively was Bradley Chubb. They passed on him to get Saquon. Just to your point about them selecting offense over defense, but good to get some defensive players like Aziz Ojulari. Now we go to the New York Jets, who get Elijah Moore, a wide receiver. They're the new coaching staff and GM, because I believe it's a new GM, um, taking note of what the previous regime failed on. So they signed Corey Davis. I think they also signed Jameson Crowder. And then
Yeah,
now you
they've
draft
had
a.
Jamison Crowder for a couple years now.
Okay. But you get Corey Davis, and now you add Elijah Moore. And we've seen some Ole Miss wide receivers do really well, one of them being DK Metcalf. So just a good
AJ
pickup
Brown.
to help. Oh, AJ Brown, forgot about him. But a good thing for the Jets to surround their new quarterback.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I had Elijah Moore going to the Packers in the first round. I really thought he was a first round talent, and for him to fall this far for the Jets, I definitely love this move. And Zach Wilson's going to need help that Sam Darnold never was afforded, and this new coaching staff really realizes that. And I think that really shows when they picked Elijah Moore.
Now we go to the Oakland Raiders, who selected Tavon Morag, a playmaking safety, and their defense really struggled last season. They changed coordinators, but getting a good safety is a huge thing, and it's something that the Cowboys don't really understand. And I was hoping Tevon Morag would follow the Cowboys, but the Raiders traded up in front of them to get it. But I'm definitely not salty about that. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're not salty about it. But yeah, it was important for the Raiders to make this pick because they have so many great wide receivers in their division and great offenses for that matter. When you look at Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and the Chiefs offense, and then you go to the Chargers with Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler and the rest of their offense. I mean, it's essential for them to have a great safety, and safety is one of the most important positions. Like we said, with Antoine Winfield Jr. definitely played very well in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and uh, the Raiders thought that Morgan, who went to TCU, was the best move, and I love this pick as well as you do.
Yeah, and a little salt that shoved in the wound is when Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones make jokes about not valuing the safety position. Well, we can make jokes about you not being in the Super Bowl for 20 something years, but it's a little salt in their wound as well. But we move on to the Eagles, who make a good move in drafting Landon Dickerson, the center from Alabama. You mentioned Alabama, great for, you can just say NFL talent, but let's just talk about offensive line. As I think Landon Dickerson won the best lineman award this past year before he got injured um, for the Tide. As I'll double check on that while you give your thoughts.
Yeah, so like I said, the O lineman for the Alabama has just been insane, and it was one of my needs for this team, the Eagles. They needed to address their guard issue, and I feel like Landon Dickerson, before Kelsey retires, can definitely play guard. And they need to make sure that Jalen Hurts isn't on his back all the time, and they obviously picked up Devontae Smith, who's going to need time to get open because he's a route runner. Uh, so yeah, I love this pick. Did you find out what you needed to?
Yeah, he won the Remington Award, which is for given to the best center. He's the third Alabama player to win the award, which was established in 2000. Joins Barrett Jones and Ryan Kelly. So just to your point of great offensive linemen coming from Alabama, so that's a good award and a good pick by the Eagles as offensive line is. 49ers, I really like this pick. Trey Sermon, who we saw really go off for Ohio State this past year. You've we've talked about it before. The 49ers just roll through running backs. They're not about giving deals out to running backs, unlike some owners. And adding Sermon is a huge piece that I really enjoy to help when Trey Lance comes in and he needs to rely on the running game. As we talked about, the running game helping quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on Trey Sermon?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a great move, and running back by committee is definitely a great way to do things, unlike some players or some coaches and owners decide to do. But Trey Sermon, you obviously played for Ohio State, great player, and I definitely think this can assist with the play action ability for the 49ers. And like I said, I definitely think Jimmy Garoppolo should play the entirety of the season as a starter, allowing Trey Lance to adjust to the NFL game after taking this year off of college. But yeah, Trey Sermon will definitely help in the growth of Trey Lance, and definitely, as they're both named Trey, should get along pretty well.
Yeah, they should. Maybe that could be a duo that comes out in case if Jimmy Garoppolo gets put down or not put down, moved away by Trey Lance, and maybe traded and moves down the depth chart. That's a better way to say it. My apologies. Now we go to the Seahawks. Stone Forsythe selecting tackle, hopefully making Russell Wilson a little bit happy, but also Cardinals had J.J. Watt. We've, of course, talked about Aaron Donald. You have Chandler Jones, Nick Bosa, any defensive lineman that starts for the 49ers, or just any defensive lineman that can harass the Seahawks offensive line. Good pick for him there, investing in the offensive line, which made him great when they won that Super Bowl. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the developments that have happened in the Russell Wilson saga, and hopefully for the Seahawks, this will assist in those uh, desires of his to get some help. It's interesting because I mean the Seahawks have really been a team recently that's made the playoffs in a lot of seasons. However, it's not really helping with Russell Wilson's happiness, and that really compares to Aaron Rodgers' situation. And so for both of those teams, making moves to get O-line. We have both of them in here make their best pick being O-line picks because we believe that that's the best move to help your franchise quarterback, best quarterback to ever play, or close to best quarterback to ever play for your organization ever, help them make their lives easier.
Yeah, and back to back, as I think you foreshadowed it, we have Dan Moore Jr. going to the Steelers as Steelers really need to invest in the offensive line because we've mentioned how great the offensive line is for the passing game, but it's also great for the running game, as that's something the Steelers really need to emphasize if they want to prolong the lifespan of Ben Roethlisberger in football terms. What are your thoughts on this pick?
What was the center's name that just retired?
Center?
Yeah, for the Steelers.
Oh, is it? I think he had a brother.
Pouncey, Maurice
Yeah,
Pouncey.
Pouncey. That was who
It
it
was
is.
Marquise or Maurice, I can't remember. But
I think it's Marquise.
one of them played for the Dolphins and Chargers,
Yeah,
and one of them played for the other team. But yeah, I definitely think
Marquise.
Marquise played for the Steelers.
Steelers. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
figure
okay.
out the other
But
brother.
yeah, but it's important to take in a lineman once a Hall of Fame lineman retires from your team, and they address it. And Big Ben's going to need as much time as he can get, as he is a lot slower of a player. However, he's a little bit more mobile than I think people would like to give him credit to. But like we've said, O lineman is definitely the most important position when you need your quarterback to stay healthy, and they've really struggled with that, as we saw the Browns really. I mean, first play of the game, the O lineman kind of chucked the ball over Big Ben's head, and that was the Hall of Famer probably. But it's definitely important for that not to happen, and taking O lineman is definitely the best way for the Steelers to move forward, especially as it took Najee Harris in the first round. He's going to need some help running the ball, and if they want to do that, they have to make sure their O line uh, is good enough to make that happen.
And the brother Marquise Pouncey is, of course, Mike Pouncey, who played for the Dolphins. Continuing to add some trivia. Now, adding a little bit of fun trivia that everyone knows is the Buccaneers' Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the NFL draft, is a guy who we have the best pick for the Bucks in our Spotty review is Grant Stewart, the outside linebacker. They did select the inside linebacker, but it's tough to get playing time. We think this outside linebacker will help, especially in the run game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's definitely something that is going to be significant for a team that really their identity is run stopping, and it was this entire season until they really also were pass rushing. But in a division that has Christian McCaffrey and has Alvin Kamara and has all these other players, it's going to be essential for them to be able to stop the running game. So I definitely believe this is the best move for them moving forward, and even though this is Mr. Irrelevant, he may be Mr. Playing Time after this season's over.
Ooh, a little play on words there. Uh, Austin showcasing his variety of skills. And now we go to the Titans. Dez Fitzpatrick, the wide receiver. This is a good pick. As I mentioned, Corey Davis going to the Jets. You need a guy to pair with A.J. Brown because same thing with the Ravens. The Titans struggle with this. You can run the ball with Derrick Henry, but if you're losing, it's tough. And if you don't have a guy outside, if you only have AJ Brown, it's tough. They also lost their tight end to the Patriots.
Yeah, Johnny
Um,
Smith.
yeah, so that just increasing the need for another pass catcher in Fitzpatrick. This is why we have him as the best pick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. And it's definitely going to be essential for them to be able to pass the ball, especially in a division that's getting better defensively, as we saw the Colts take multiple defensive positions. And while I do pick them to win this division, and we'll get to our predictions sooner or later, probably closer to August or July before preseason starts. But yeah, and they're going to be a team that can't only rely on Derrick Henry, or he's going to be injured quickly. And I would hate to see that happen, considering that he's one of the best running backs in the league. So it's important to get other people to help them on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, very true. And now our own Mr. Irrelevant, and that, of course, is the Washington football team. If you've been keeping up alphabetically, we have Benjamin St. Just, the cornerback. It's good as secondary was a weakness, and getting a corner can really add and hope make this defense even better than what they were. What are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, and while it was a weakness for their defense, considering how great their defense was last season, it definitely was something that was not terrible and still one of the best secondaries in their division, considering how bad the Eagles and Cowboys defenses were. But taking another corner is definitely going to assist in their growth, and I think that may be the best defense in the league coming next season.
Yeah, I think it's a little too easy to compare NFC East teams to each other because like the Washington football team didn't even have a winning record, but they won the division. So tough things there.
They still
But
had the closest or one of the best games against the Bucks in the playoffs, though.
yes, Taylor Heineke making plays, and sadly, Alex Smith isn't playing anymore. So I actually have no regrets of rooting against Washington as I rooted for Alex Smith. But we digress. This concludes our episode. Make sure to check out our previous interview with Jeff Allen. I mentioned him and his wife having the best cookie, but he was also a guard for the Chiefs and Texans. So make sure to learn how that change happened and other stories he has along the way. Next episode, we will be doing our first ever MLB Power Rankings, and Rangers will be quite a high on my list. Austin will have to talk me down, but the Rangers are doing really well. Also, just to mention, shout out to Taylor Hearn for winning his first MLB career game May 6th. We mentioned that in our last episode, but great to see Taylor Hearn, person that we've had on to interview. Great to see him win, and hope for many more from him. And he's playing well this season. But that concludes our episode. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.